Amazing. So let's get this first speaker on the stage. Vadim Krekotin will be talking about ZK rollups landscape overview. So give Vadim a round of applause, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. First of all, I want to say thanks for organizers, for ETH Barcelona, to invite me and have a great presentation for you today, guys. What we're gonna talk today, it's a ZK rollups landscape overview, right? So ZK, it's what is it, and what's the main companies who are working on it, and what we should follow as a trend. Let me try which one is working. Can you please double check? Okay, so first of all, I want to say that this presentation is actually a summary of the ZK rollup landscape overview report, which we created in our company, which we created in the Cryptomeria Capital. Let me say a couple words about myself first. I'm in the crypto space in the blockchain since 2017. From that time till now, my main focus is actually investments. So I'm a founding partner of Cryptomeria Capital. Together with my partners, we have invested more than 200 companies in the blockchain space. We're also backed by the largest European, and one of the largest European and the largest Spanish VC, traditional VC, and actually funds of funds, named Axon Partners. So for Barcelona, for Spain here, it's also very relevant. Maybe some of you guys know and heard about them. Also, my bio includes the 2 years of being the CEO of Cointelegraph Chinese. So I'm sort of like, from the media side as well, to operate in a media company, to understand how this part works. And I've been living in China back to that time and operating Chinese company. After I left from Cointelegraph, we started another media with my partners named Metaverse Past, and for now we have more than 3 million monthly active users. Main focus is broader picture, is not only let's say coin something like let's say trading or listings. The listings is more about technology, so we really love to share a lot of information about AI, AR, VR, and the Web3 as the whole. Let's say like an asset is the niche, right? So we also do have some accelerators, but let's focus on the main topic today. So again, a report that we have created, we have a lot of very good partners, which are really proud to announce that we have cooperated with Hashk, with Polygon ZK, with the Scroll, and with all these companies to create this report. Okay, and actually, we just released it this week. On Monday, we released it on Twitter, LinkedIn, and a couple more social networks, and it brought a lot of attention to this report. For now, at the moment, I've checked it in the morning, it has more than 600,000 views. So I think many people found it very useful. So what is zero-knowledge technology? Okay, so I have a question to the audience. Please raise a hand who have heard about ZK and know what is it. All right, perfect. So majority of the audience know what it is, so I don't need to explain. I don't need to go to the very basics. Let's go to the really interesting information and the comparison with other networks. Okay, but of course the basics you guys know, and we're still gonna talk a little bit about a story. So where it starts, the first let's say mention about zero knowledge was in 1989, and it's interesting. It's like 34 years from now. That's the first mention about ZK, and that's exactly like my age, right? So quite the same story, quite the same timelines. But from that time, it hasn't found any sort of use cases, and it was a bunch of publications in 1999. It was a very interesting publication by Eli bin Sasson, who is actually the founder of the StarkNet, Starkware, and the StarkNet. And he also brought a lot of interesting solutions, and from his publication, a lot of people, maybe someone here in the audience, also use solutions that he put in his publication back to 1999. But the main use case for the ZK started in 2008 with the publication of the Bitcoin white paper. So many people understand that ZK proofs can be used as ZK rollups with the first, let's say, use case in the zero cache. It was interesting use case, but of course, after the Barry White has published his solution on GitHub, a lot of people start to understand, okay, that's exactly probably how we can use how to scale Ethereum, etc. So now we have much more interesting solution, and many companies are working on a solution. So it definitely brought a lot of attention to community, to developer community. So companies like ZK, Sync, Starkware, etc. started the journey from there. Okay, so I want to compare optimistic rollups and zero-knowledge rollups. Basically, optimistic rollups relies heavily on trust and game theory. So we have fraud-proof optimistic rollups. User may result in a waiting period for almost 1 week for 7 days, which definitely, brought a lot of inconvenience to the place. At the same time, zero-knowledge rollups require a computational proof, and some of them require trusted setup, which is also some additional costs. And ZK rollups, user do not face such a delays, 7 days. The verification can be done immediately. What we see here that actually for the optimistic rollups, it's very native to the EVM, and that's not exactly the case for the zero-knowledge rollups, right? So for zero-knowledge rollups, you need to have separate SDKs, you need to develop maximum EVM compatibility, and that's not exactly easy to set up. Proof of validity. So for the proof of validity, it require it do not require significant calculations for the optimistic rollups, but for zero-knowledge proofs, it's generated using the complex cryptographic calculations and requires significant calculations. For transaction fees, it's much cheaper for the optimistic rollups, but it's more expensive for the zero-knowledge at the moment, right? So many good teams are working on how to reduce the gas fees and etc. But still, you can see it much more expensive. Yeah, so 10 minutes for zero-knowledge rollups and up to 1 week for optimistic rollups. Speed of the optimistic rollups is much lower than the speed for the zero-knowledge rollup. And I also want to rely on quotes from the Vitalik Buterin that he's basically saying that for the short term, at the moment, for the whole, let's say, industry that we have at the moment, optimistic rollups is a better solution. It's easy, let's say, to use. It's easy to implement. Doesn't require this trusted setup. Transaction cost is cheaper, but at the same time, ZK Snark's technology improves. And ZK accumulation packages will win for all use cases in the medium and the long term. I agree with Vitalik. I personally see a lot of use cases in the conventional world as well. So ZK as a technology can go much broader into other industries, not only in, let's say, crypto and the blockchain space. So what is ZK Snarks and ZK Starks? Also, let's see briefly in our presentation here. I want to speed up. I see that the time is ticking. So ZK Snarks, Starks, basically you can see that Starks is much bigger in the proof size, quick in approver time, but the verification time is quite like the same. Okay, so here you can see some of the notes as well. But one thing is important to understand that security assumptions for Starks is much better because that's the only solution at the moment which is above a quantum secure quantum secure line. So a lot of people saying about what's going to be happening with the blockchain space with the crypto when the quantum computer appears, when it's become affordable. Then we already have some sort of like a solutions which is happening, which is appearing, and probably it can solve this. Okay, so basically at the moment we have ZK Sync, Polygon, and Scroll, who is already using ZK Snarks. For Starks, the main, let's say, ambassador of it, and actually founder, is a Starkware and the StarkNet as the protocol, right? And the Polygon, in the recent publications, also they said that they will use the Starks as well. Okay, so some of the companies who are working on the Snarks and Starks here, so you can see the difference, you know, and who has better, I would say, achievements, right? So for Starks, and just below the Starks, all the companies like Gross 16, Sonic, Planck, Marlene, Fractal, all of them, they are basically working on Snarks rather than Starks. How to improve them and how to make you know, the technology better. Also very important to mention that EVM compatibility is crucial for the ZK rollups at the moment, and better compatibility you have, then faster you communicate with Ethereum. So Scroll, the closest one for Polygon ZK, they are also much closer to the Ethereum, like even ZK Sync, they say they have 99% of compatibility. For StarkNet, it's much more complicated, actually, but the same, like, you know, company, they saying they're working on it, and at the moment they do have some solutions, so let's dive a bit deeper. So how different ecosystems work with the ZK rollups. ZK Sync, so we have ZK AVM, ZK Porter, ZK main contract, verifier, upgrade, gatekeeper, governance, full nodes, prover, and interactor. So that's the how architecture of the ZK Sync looks like. At these slides, you can see the workflow of the ZK Sync. I'm not going to go deep to the explanation of each single you know, item here. Otherwise, it's going to take like a couple hours for me to, you know, to explain all the things at these slides. And the main thing that which actually I look at as the let's say investor, so that's my core business, right? To invest. Of course, we look at the ecosystem. We look at the okay, so we have ZK Sync. We have a lot of projects who are already building on the ZK Sync. Of course, we want to support them. We have invested to several of them already, and always like looking to invest to some good projects. So because of ZK Sync. Current, like, let's say, stage, and they started quite early. They are very compatible with the Ethereum, so the ecosystem of the ZK quite big. At the moment, have almost 250, maybe even more, like projects, which are, let's say, can be compatible, can be like used, can use ZK Sync. Also, here we can see that actually TPS and usage of the network activity of the ZK Sync are quite active. The same we have here for the total value locked is growing rapidly. So it's growing super fast, and actually ZK Sync is the leader at that space at the moment with more than $700 million which is locked on the network. Here you can see the breakdown of which assets locked. Ethereum is have dominance here. The rest is just, I would say, like a few percentages. Fundraising and investors for the ZK Sync is quite interesting as well. So in total, they have fundraised almost $500 million US, right? So the network, they have money to deploy, they have money to support their ecosystem, they have money to build a very good and sufficient technology. And you can see, you know, some of the founders, some of the projects, the VCs here, they are famous, and probably you also have heard about them. The most funded ecosystem for the ZK at the moment. So the next one is the StarkNet. Again, so the architecture here, You can take a look at our report. In the end, I will provide a QR code. You can scan it, you can go and download it, and you can, I'd say, like, research it by yourself and find, you know, all the information that you need. Workflow, interesting. What I like, they use a recursive prevent flow, which is like, you know, different with other ecosystems. They are going to have a hyperscale mode. That's why they want to provide with L3s, L4s, and so on. So solution is interesting. And actually, the transaction price are cheaper, going to be cheaper with the L3s and L4s. Ecosystem is smaller than ZK Sync, but at the same time, it's expanding. From my personal, I would say, like a feedback, I've been in a conference of the StarkNet in February in Tel Aviv, and it was a very good combination of the, you know, young startuppers and people who already, like, let's say, long time in the industry, which is really working on the very good and quality projects. So I was so impressed. And personally, I also see a lot of potential for the StarkNet ecosystem, but still, almost 200 projects here already exist and building something on a StarkNet. Activity is lower than ZK Sync. TVL also sort of like a lower with the ZK Sync, but it's also like a different, right? So technology, it takes a bit longer to understand, especially for developers, how StarkNet works, how to code on it, how to, let's say, release the product on it. So it's a bit different and take a bit longer for people to understand. Fundraising for this part, has less, let's say, money collected from the investors, but the key difference from my perspective for the StarkNet, for the Starkware, that they have a lot of infrastructure partners they're already working on. So Consensus, Nethermind, Ledger, a lot of good companies also support StarkNet, and Visa recently said they want to use the StarkNet as, for their transactions, which exactly shows that StarkNet, I would say, goes a little bit more like a corporates and, let's say, traditional, conventional world, sort of like a direction. The next one is Scroll. For the architecture, I'll skip it. Just a couple minutes left. So here we have the workflow. If you're interested, you can go to the our report and download it. Okay, so ecosystem map is still comparatively small, but is also growing, and with the main focus on the DeFi projects. The same actually as the ZK Sync and StarkNet. Majority of the projects is the DeFi projects or infrastructure. Here we have more DeFi projects which are building on the Scroll. For the fundraising, it collected around $80 million US. Polychain, a lot of people from Ethereum, core developers, core people from Ethereum Foundation invested to Scroll. Sequoia Capital also invested to StarkNet. So all the good companies, they know the potential of Scroll and its raising at the moment. Okay, so Polygon ZK architecture is different with others. Okay, so for that part, it's also worth to understand, to explore. Here's the workflow. They have ZK Prover, which can be actually use both snarks and starks. So this is sort of like, you know, difference with other ecosystems. Ecosystem map is small for the Polygon ZK but we do understand, all of us know that Polygon is one of the largest protocols, one of the largest layers. As soon as they will combine and let, you know, other projects to migrate to ZK and I do believe they have enough power to promote in a proper way, to do a lot of partnerships. So that's one of the largest, let's say, competitor for ZK Sync and StarkNet. Activity is quite small yet. TVL is growing, but the same, guys. We are here today, and we are quite early in the space of ZK, right? So these sort of like graphics in 2 years will be like, you know, tremendously big, and all these like, you know, things will be even like a small like, you know, dots on the huge map of like how many value will be locked, how many assets, how many projects will be combined there. So that's the whole comparison of these like 4 ecosystems. Of course, there are much more. We have Loopring, we have AdStack, we have Mina, which is our switching to fully ZK protocol at the moment, and many, many more interesting teams and projects who are building something on the ZK and also providing a lot of good knowledge and the solutions to the market. So still, let's say, concluding to this comparison, I would say ZK Sync is dominating at the moment today, but we have StarkNet, which is growing super fast and also quite like a competitive to it, and Polygon, who is also like have a lot of potential. So for use cases, I would say that in the blockchain, in the crypto space, ZK rollups can be used in the DeFi, can be used in the decentralized identity, in data privacy, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of use cases which actually can be used. Especially, I think, majority of the people who are, let's say, like professional investors to the industry, especially what we are discussing inside of our team, that we're looking for, of course, transactional business, right? Let's say exchanges or payment solutions or swaps. That's, of course, like interesting right now because ecosystem is quite early. They are like building, and these sort of solutions can bring a lot of attention, a lot of users for Web3 world. If we're talking about conventional business, now it's happening like a previous bull run. All the big companies, they already invested to the Bitcoin. Now recently we have BlackRock. They applied for the ETF, and you know, CEO also like quite like a bullish on the Bitcoin and the whole industry. But ZK as a technology really can go beyond the let's say crypto space and bring us to the, you know, let's say conventional world when the use cases are real, when we are you know, implementing this technology to the very like let's say like a normal and a daily world, right? So finance, healthcare, supply chain management, insurance, it's all can be I mean, in every of these industries can be, ZK can be implemented. Just for instance, now I live in Dubai, and recently I met the guys. They are one of the largest real estate developer, and the guy who's working in the company, he told me, we have a lot of data. They lease in these like companies, they lease in their space to a lot of merchants. They sell in a lot of you know, property which they develop. And they said, but we cannot sell it because the leaders of the company, they're afraid of like, you know, competition and things like that. But I told him, okay, take a look at the ZK proofs, and this technology really can help you to monetize this data without revealing what's exactly like, you know, this data is. So your leaders can be, you know, let's say calm. They don't need to be worried about like competition with other real estate developers, but at the same time they can monetize this data. So this is just a small and one use case, but a lot of them which is exist and just waiting for the time. So thank you so much, guys. Actually, my time already like, you know, finished a couple minutes ago. I think I have a time for one question, if you allow. One question. Okay, one question, and someone who give me a very good question, I give my report, which is physical one. Okay, I see Oliver. Okay.
Thanks for the great overview. What is your take on the sequencers? How can we decentralize them and make them trustless?
Wow, that's a very good question. It's a very technical question, right? So thank you so much for asking me this. Regarding to the technical part of the story, I won't go deep because my part in the company as the founder to build the whole strategy for the company, to invest to the best deals. When I invest to the projects, I mostly focus on founders, a team, you know, to see who is that person, what's the motivation behind that person, why he built this team, do he has enough let's say knowledge and I would say like motivation to build what he wants to build, right? So for the technical part of the story, I would suggest you find someone who really can explain you. Unfortunately, just like one sort of example, one of the good sequencers that we were on radar radios from StarkNet, I think, ecosystem. So we missed that part. And then I was like, okay, so we definitely should invest a couple of sequencers. So probably I will take more time to understand what is that and who is building something for the sequencer. Okay, guys, so unfortunately we don't have time. Thank you so much for having me today. Oliver, this is yours. And goodbye. Thank you so much.